Our second question, we're going to start with Greg. Our district is growing steadily, providing needed funding with added students, but also putting pressure on our facilities and on our class sizes. Can each of you talk about your view of the growth in our district and how it impacts students?
Well, the first thing is growth is a great thing, and it's a great thing not only if you're in an area where the growth is happening in your immediate area, but in the district overall. Because what growth does is it builds the student body. It builds, in addition to building the tax base of the community. So when a parcel tax is paid, that's paying for library and media technicians throughout the district. There are more people to pay those. When there's a bond so that we can renovate our older campuses, there are more people, more houses, and more commercial buildings that pay for all of that. And what it also does is it brings more students, for instance, to Dublin High. That translates into more expanded course offerings. We started last year a Mandarin foreign language program here. It allows us to continue to make sure that we have sufficient students to have a sufficient enough of an enrollment in AP classes to protect those. So it allows us to really benefit in a lot of ways, and it allows us to be able to manage class sizes well also, so that we don't have to lay off any teachers. We've been actually hiring teachers. So I think overall, growth is something that we're very grateful. It's the type of thing that's made our district the envy of moving around. And the challenges, unfortunately, is exactly that: is the housing problem. And we're going to be faced, soon with a challenge about the next elementary school, which is in the Positano project over on the other side of town. And that school's still a couple years away from opening. And we just dealt at a facilities committee meeting, facilities, but then also at a board meeting, at the last board meeting, about how we're going to accommodate these students before that school actually opens, because we are growing at half an elementary school year. And where do we put those? And the question is, we can put them in portables at their particular campuses, but that comes with a very significant cost. Or do we maybe flex in some class sizes for a little bit? And so we've asked staff to really take a look and give us the types of solutions that ideally where we don't have to spend money on portables.
I'm just kidding. Like Greg said, it is a really good problem to have. But we are growing at half a school year, and it is something that we've been discussing on how to manage that, because portables, it'll cost us $4.5 million. I mean, there's just a lot of issues that come with it. Some of the things that I worry about is the counselor to student ratio, and I just think, how are we going to manage that? And I think that it's really going to be a team effort. I think it's going to be true collaboration to meet with staff and students and teachers and parents and figure out how we manage our growth while we're sort of in that in-between stage until we can get the new school built. And then we got to start building another school right after that. And we've got to look at how do we fund all these things. And we just have to be very proactive. And some of the things that have already been mentioned are, energy efficiency. Eventually that will end up putting a lot of dollars right back into our general fund that's going to help us with these growth issues. And also the parcel tax. I mean, I think if it weren't for the parcel tax, our class sizes would match probably Pleasanton's and Livermore's, and we wouldn't have that opportunity to keep them as low as we do. So it's something our community is going to really have to be involved in, and we're going to have to talk about when we get to that point, which is coming up soon. And the last thing I'll just say is there's also going to be some collaboration with the city, and we might possibly, instead of reauthorizing our parcel tax, do a user's utility tax. But there's going to be a lot of discussions and communication, and we will involve all the stakeholders to make sure that we can still meet the needs of our students.
Well, the challenge with growth is, the biggest challenge with growth is where we can house the students. And then the other challenge that's coming around is how do we fund the school? Because not only does the state not fund us fully for our students that we have in the classroom, but they're delaying the funding for the construction of new schools. So we need to start building E4 within the next year and a half, 2 years, but the funding for it is out probably 3+ years. And so we have a challenge with that, and we're working with staff and trying to come up with creative ways in which we can fund the school so we don't get stuck without the school. And part of what Amy said was we have portables. I'm not really thrilled about spending $4.5 million on portables, so we have to, as a community, look at what are we willing to do something different and outside the box that will maybe help us not have to spend $4.5 million on portables for 3 years. So that's a lot of money that you never get back, which we could put into building, into programming, into something that we're not going to get stuck with. The good side with growth is there's more people, so there's more money coming in, so our students get more options. And one of the things about the high school now, it's starting to get to that critical mass where we can start offering more program, and that's what comes with growth. When you have 1,500 kids, you don't get all the program options. When you have 2,000, 2,400 kids, you have a lot of options. So, those are the key issues coming up with us with growth.
In the business community, growth is seen as a positive. Companies create long-term plans to best take advantage of those opportunities. In business, growth means that services can be expanded, products can be improved and customized, and new markets can be reached. But however, in the field of education, growth really isn't always seen as positive. And why is that? It's because we're dealing with people and not widgets. First, taking advantage of anticipated opportunities requires long-term planning. Current lack of long-term planning means that more kids in our growing district are going to be shoved into crowded classrooms and portable buildings that cost a fortune and don't give our district a return on its investment. This failure to plan ahead has left us accommodating growth with less than optimal solutions. But we can learn from the past and plan for a better future. More students also means more state funding for teachers. More teachers means we can diversify curriculum, expanding our arts programs and academic opportunities. This will give students and their families more choice, and multiple learning styles are best accommodated with a variety of classroom options. But to realize that all the opportunities that growth brings us, we have to plan early, we have to plan ahead. Otherwise, we will just repeat the cycle of growth as a crisis, leading to crowded classrooms, low return on investments, and reduced instructional opportunities.